2, 1, and we are live. What's up, cannabis connoisseurs, and happy 420. You are watching Backdoor Marketing with Jessica, and I'm your host, Jessica. Today we are going to be joined with Pam Chotiswatdi and Greg Lefian. Pam is the Director of Administration and Education for the Lbca. Greg Lefian is the Board of Directors and Vice President and a co-founder of the Lbca. So we're super excited to be joined with them. We have some really awesome news today. And I'm really excited about it because this is something that I think that has been greatly needed in the community for a long time. Well, when I say a long time, obviously, there is not that much time to the cannabis community, at least in a legal sense, at least in the current market. But this is absolutely is something that has been needed for a long time, relatively, but massively important. Can't wait to talk to you guys about it. I see the Lbca is requesting to join the live right now, so please give a warm welcome to Pam and Greg going live with the Lbca now. Hello, Pam and Greg. How are you guys doing?
Hi, Jessica. How are you doing?
I'm great. Fantastic to see you both. Also, I wanted to thank you both. So a couple of days ago, guys, I had the privilege of speaking at one of their meetings, which was absolutely such a pleasure because I felt kind of like a stranger walking into a group of friends, but in a really positive way. They were all so supportive of each other, but also of me being a newcomer coming into like their zone, and everybody was just super sweet and great. And some of the products that I was introduced to and the people, fantastic organization you guys have. So we're going to start off by asking you guys a little bit about your titles and what you do for the organization. So Greg, why don't we start with you? Greg, you're the Board of Directors and Vice President and also a founding father, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Very cool. So what does that actually mean? What is the Board of Directors, Vice President mean for the Lbca?
Well, I guess specifically to me, what it means, I'm more of the moral support guy, just like the overall support staff. My vision is the same as, the Lbca's entirety, and that's bridging, being the bridge for the cannabis industry, the community, and the city, the local government here. And, as you know, because you've talked with other Lbca members and you were at our meeting, which we were thankful that you could make it, and we were very happy to have you there. It's just building that community and, being able to now work with a wonderful staff like Pam and Steven and Mr. Neil, who you got to meet. It's really
you guys
just
have really formed like quite the organization. I mean, you guys aren't just, a bunch of members that have cannabis businesses that we meet weekly or something. You're policy changers. You guys are actually moving and shaking in the industry, which is really exciting. Like really, really cool stuff you guys have going on.
No, absolutely. And it's being able to build that network of all these license holders here in the city to help move policy and really build the industry here from the ground up. It's been really, challenging a lot, but really gratifying on just where we've come since 2011.
And you're also helping people like with the licensing policies and stuff like that, because that's just in itself, that is like an impossible feat, right?
Well, in regards to helping is through our experience, we've all gone through it. So, for members who have been in the industry and new to Long Beach, it's great to get plugged into the network. Also, if you're going through the licensing process, having that network of people around you that most likely just went through it months ago, to help, kind of help guide you with all the pitfalls that we've already gone through. You don't have to get the same bumps and bruises. So
right. And Pam, I love what you do. So Pam, really, you are the Director of Administration and Education, but really you're like the get shit done chick, right?
Yes.
From my experience in dealing with, talking to people and everything, it's like, ask Pam. Everything is referenced back to, you should ask Pam about that. So you seem to be a mover and a shaker. So let's talk a little bit about what you do. What is it that your title means? What does the Board of Directors, Vice President mean to the Lbca, and what was your background getting into it?
You mean Director of Administration and Education?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's okay. I
Trying to take my title.
I know, trying to take his title.
We're all vice presidents here.
I came into LBC in early 2018. I think it was like February. It was super early. I was the first staff here, and the board kind of took me under their wings and said they really need some organizing of their administration part, like all the back end basically, and they needed some like front-facing PR and public facing education. And so my background is public health and in publications too. Like I was an editor for about 10 years. So I kind of fit in there a little bit, like kind of just came right in. And I love to organize, like that's just what I do. And
can you come to my house? Can you come to my room?
If I had
we
more
need
lots
you
of time,
now.
I would just always do that.
Perfect.
So really, I just really organize and keep everything moving on the back end. All of our projects and programs keep moving. And the education part, mostly it's like the public-facing education that Stephen and I do at neighborhood associations and colleges, and just really public, breaking that stigma and getting that 101 cannabis education out there to our communities.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I mentioned right before you guys came on that there was something you guys were working on that I find massively important and super exciting. So from what I understand, you guys actually have a cannabis education course at the Long Beach College.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about this course? Because I've only actually seen, as I mentioned previously, I've only actually seen anything about cannabis, education. I mean, we're talking about like YouTube videos. We're talking about YouTube videos and people that have been in the legacy market that want to spread their knowledge via online courses and stuff like that. But you guys are doing like a full 8-week course, right?
Yeah. So the board started conversations with the Long Beach City College board about, getting a skilled workforce. So like, it's a brand new industry. It's not every day that we have brand new industries. And that was a couple years ago, probably the same year I started. They started having those conversations. And what really was missing is not really getting, it's really for people that are operator path, like going into looking for a license too, but really for people looking for careers into cannabis, so they can have like a really good foothold of what the industry looks like, how the supply chain works, some background on cannabis and cannabis policy, why we're here, why we came to be where we're here now. And, just that.
So can you tell us a little bit about the course? So it's at Long Beach Community College. How long is it? What does the course curriculum consist of? Like as a student, what do you actually go there to learn?
So it is right now because, federal legalization for cannabis. It's housed in the college's adult ed workforce. So kind of like a place where you would go to do continuing education. It's in that department right now, and it's not credited. You won't get like a degree or college credits for it, but you will get a certificate. And so that's right where we're starting. And the course is 8 weeks. And what you get, I'll go through the weeks of it. The first week really runs down history and intro to cannabis science. So like anything like having to do with the cannabis plant, the endocannabinoid system, like really basic knowledge of that, introduction of that. The history part is really cool because it really takes you like a really abridged, it's only 2.5 hours that class. So it really takes you through the history of like ancient history up to, how cannabis prohibition came about and how we got to where we are today. So each of the licenses of the week, they're covering careers, operations, and regulations. So week 2 is all cultivation. Week 3 is manufacturing. Week 4 is distribution. Week 5 is retail. Week 6 is testing labs. Week 7 is split. The first day is metric. The second day is cannabis waste. Week 8 is also split. The first one is Intro to Cannabis Law, and the last day is Cannabis Workforce and HR.
Okay, I can tell you've had some involvement in this because you even the way you talk about it is organized and eloquent. I'm like, you're real good.
And the good part about the course is that I'm not an instructor, so it's safe to take the class. There are knowledgeable people who are taking the class. So.
That is awesome.
He's so educated, though. He just, likes to do stuff behind the scenes.
Okay, so what is LBC's involvement in the courses?
So the LBCC, we actually have their course there. So how you get a course into that department is it has to be some kind of, career enrichment, some kind of personal enrichment. It's mostly career-based enrichment though, like, computer classes, like those kind of, what else would
Vocational.
be there? Vocational, yeah. Vocational career enhancement courses. So instructors, they could, how they get into it. I mean, our talks were different because it was cannabis related, but like if somebody wanted to come and teach a vocational class on, what would it be? Automotive, like changing something. They would have to go and talk with the workforce and develop a curriculum. So we really sat really closely with the workforce at LBCC to help just guide how this was going to be, like how many days a week was it going to be, how many hours it was going to be, if we can give a certificate, pass or fail. So those kind of intricacies, they helped us, directed us with.
This just, it sounds so massively important right now. So like you said, like for a new industry, there aren't many new industries, you know what I mean? And, as a course that's not accredited, but I mean, there hasn't been enough adequate time in the industry in its existence to have had a degree anyway. So I mean, these are the stepping stones that build people's futures in a brand new industry. And I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. I think it's so exciting. I want to take the course, and I'm dead serious. I'm probably going to sign up for the course. That's really cool. So how did it get started? How did you guys decide to start the cannabis education courses?
With a subcommittee. So LBCA, the association, the members run on all of our programs, and policy work that is done is run in subcommittees. So, members that have that in their wheelhouse, like maybe they're skilled in that area, will join a subcommittee. So the ones that are in the education subcommittee are ones that really, they're instructors. They like to teach. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, the idea was birthed from the thing that we're creating this there's a brand new industry here where there's a workforce that is needed, and there's skilled jobs, and there's so many people that lack the education. So when I got into the industry, if you didn't know somebody, up in the mountains of Santa Cruz or wherever, that information wasn't there for you. So if you like me, like myself, came here and learned by fire by trial, or however that works, but that was it. So the necessity to get folks the education and the opportunity to get in here, because there was a very big risk in just being an employee or involved in the cannabis industry if it was plant touching, period. So, like Pam said, this is not accredited now because obviously of the federal legalities that prohibit a lot these colleges and these schools get federal funding. So to be able to get a program in actually a community college at this point is again one of those stepping stones to getting this to a place where cannabis is spoken about in different curriculums, throughout the whole educational scope, because you need other people, like we have an HR director and all these things, and now all those different things, all those positions that would need to be filled within a company need to have that cannabis lens on it. So
absolutely,
get into this to where it is now, and we don't see it slowing down, and hopefully it spreads throughout the country and beyond. So
how did you get started in this industry in the first place? Like, not just with the LBCA, but how did you get started in the industry?
Well, I lived I was born and raised in Providence, Rhode Island, on the East Coast, where cannabis wasn't as readily available as it is in California. My sister lived here forever. I came out to visit. This is the short version of the story, obviously. I actually went to a dispensary and purchased cannabis, which has helped me, personally throughout my lifetime. And I was like, this is amazing. So I fell in love with the fact that I didn't feel like, well, I did have a little bit, the place I went to, I mean, we're talking like 2006, so it did have like a little criminal vibe to it, but, you know, so.
It was kind of a back alley. There was sort of a guy.
So, you know, my passion grew quickly on to be able to have a safe place for people to get their medicine and be able to, you know, just access this such a powerful plant that, you know, was demonized for so long. It was the only thing that I could, you know, imagine myself doing. So I moved out here and ended up in beautiful Long Beach, California. And 12 years later, we're here trying to push, you know, cannabis curriculum into mainstream. So
I think
my
main focus in this industry is really like, my main focus in this industry has always been kind of anti-big pharma and pro holistic health medicine and, you know, plant medicines, whatever those medicines may be, you know, whether it's the whole plant or whether it's cannabis or whether it's mushrooms or psychedelics or whatever it is that helps that person from a legal standpoint, that helps your body. But let's not lie, it's a good time also.
No, absolutely.
You know,
but
I like to make the point too of saying, you know, that alcohol is a good time, but it's not good for you. And at the same token, you know, Tylenol helps the pain, but it's not a good time. And
right.
Here we go. We find one medicine that does both things. So that's fantastic.
How do you not fall in love with something like that?
How do you not fall in love with something like that? Double whammy. What about you, Pam? What was your introduction into the cannabis space, or was it the LBCA?
Actually, I was, you know, I've been a consumer of cannabis since like '89. So I've been through, you know, the whole.
Say that one more time.
You know, the whole, as a consumer though. So I wasn't really looking to work in cannabis. When I was studying for my master's in public health, I came across a lot of cannabis studies that had a lot of bias in them. And so I kind of shifted my thought process on it. Like, what I was really going to get my, you know, after my degree, I was just going to probably go work in nonprofits and probably do, like, I mean, I love working with seniors. I did that for a year before cannabis. So I kind of thought, why don't I use my public health degree in cannabis and like use those tools I learned to, you know, help with the stigma and help spread education, help move programs, help create programs. I'm like, I can do that. Like,
absolutely.
You don't have that here yet. So I took a risk. Like, with my degree, I should be working for the government at the city right now. That's what I should be doing.
Well, I mean,
but I'm not.
You still could, and maybe kind of be a covert operations, you know.
I feel like I do more work outside of the city. Working alongside of them is great because then I could, you know, we.
So you're not a double agent.
Yeah, I can just. It's much better if we collaborate together.
All right, Pam. Whatever. You guys, she's not a double agent at all.
You got to infiltrate somehow.
Get the tentacles out there. So, okay. So getting back to the LBCA just a little bit. But what is the main focus of the LBCA? If you had to figure out something that you thought was, I know that there's a lot of focuses in the LBCA, and yesterday we touched on with when I was talking to Steve and John, they were talking about consumption and event space. You know, a comfortable legal space for consumption and to hold events. That aside, what do you think the next most important thing on the plate is that people need to be aware of or try to help in some way to make moves on? What's your focus?
I mean, I feel like LBCA has generally the focus of LBCA is advocacy of creating a fair business space for industry, and also continue, you know, to have the safe space for access, just for safe products. Right now, I mean, with the lounges, I feel like LBC will continue to push for a policy that helps, you know, that's actually safe consumption spaces for patients and consumers. Because right now you can only consume in a private residence, and there's a bunch of stuff on that. So that's just really LBC creating better policies, fixing the policies we have now, and just advocating for safe access and continuing that informative and credible information to the communities. So there's, you know, there's still a lot of misinformation out there too coming out.
Yeah.
So it's good that we're out there, like, you know, answering questions, and, you know, there's a lot of questions still in our communities and lots of fear about it too.
Well, hopefully it's something as meaty as an cannabis education course at the Long Beach Community College, hopefully something as substantial as that will help lift some of the stigmas. Because if you have somebody that's credited in any way, right, whether it be a certificate or a degree or whatever it is, but when somebody was actually educated through a community college or through any education system, and they can speak on behalf of the cannabis community, and you know that it's coming from a legitimate source, you know, I think that will hopefully lift some of the stigmas to have some people out there that you can look to as a reference that have been educated from a college, you know. So that's fantastic. I love that we're going to have some reference points. At least those people will be reference points for facts, which is fantastic. So if somebody wanted to start taking classes at Long Beach Community College, do they have to be part of the Lbca, or do they have to be a volunteer at the Lbca?
They most certainly do not. That's through LBCC. You know, myself, I would think my advice to anybody who does want to be in the cannabis industry and is obviously within traveling distance to Long Beach, becoming part of the group, whether if it's volunteerism or it's a plug into a network, something that was, you know, we had to create. There was not one already there to be a part of. So I would highly recommend if you're there to, you know, if you're interested in getting the education about cannabis, then it definitely would behoove anybody to be part of this group, because we do so many things. That's why when you ask the question, like, what's the most important, there's so many moving parts, right, that it's hard to pinpoint whether, you know, between social equity and you know, the courses that we just discussed, or all these different policies that we're, and not just on the city level, but it gives us a vehicle to be able to speak with other groups in other cities to work on statewide stuff. So it's just one, you know, I don't want to say small piece, but it's small piece of the entirety of the industry, but it is an avenue to be directly plugged into the cannabis industry with people who are knowledgeable. I mean, you could probably learn a lot just by hanging out at events and, you know, listening to conversations going on, because, you know, they're covering a curriculum, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot more real life examples when you're in a room full of people complaining mostly all the time, you know. So
who are the members of the Lbca? Like, to be a member of the Lbca, do you have to have a cannabis business or a cannabis license?
So there's different levels. I'm sure Pam can go through a lot of those levels, but to be a member, yeah, you have to hold a business license in the city to be a voting member, I should say, correct? And then Pam can go through the other.
Yeah, so the membership levels are Long Beach operators that hold cannabis license within the city, and those are only voting members. Our other members are industry partners for those that have cannabis licenses outside of the city, and then our affiliate members, which are like ancillary businesses that support cannabis. So maybe there's a payroll company that, you know, processes cannabis payroll, or a security company, or marketing, or anything like that. Anything that's not cannabis licensed, but they, you know, the industry needs those companies to run.
Absolutely. So if you're looking at being a student at the Long Beach Community College to get a cannabis education, and then you volunteer with the Lbca, you're going to take on that education while making connections in the industry. And by the time you get out of school and you're done with your education, or you continue your education or whatever, but by the time you start trying to make moves to actually work in this space, you'll be already have been making friends and shaking hands with people in the industry, and hopefully get a leg up on the competition, because I'm sure everybody's rushing into it right now, or at least they're trying.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of our volunteers, when we have like an event that has volunteers, so it's volunteers from our members and also the community. So it's just, you know, other advocates in our space that wants to come and help whatever that we were doing. Either, you know, it's either like a cleanup or food distribution or something like that. But working side by side with community and cannabis advocates will always get you more education.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And no promises, but there have been some volunteers that are now currently employed in the industry. So.
That's a good point to make. No promises.
No promises.
But if you're looking, but absolutely, it's all about who you know. And I mean, especially coming from a legacy market where there was only who you know, because there was no education about it, and it wasn't publicly talked about, and it wasn't openly discussed, and, you know, people were reluctant to say what they did, let alone try to make connections and, you know, and go to networking groups. It's like that wasn't even a thing. So
right.
Being as how, you know, it's a brand new industry, and like you said, Pam, and actually both of you made the point that you guys have so many moving parts, and there's so many things that are important right now, because everything's important at the same time. You're not tightening up the bolts, you're building the ship. Like, you're building the whole ship right now. So yeah, getting into an organization like the LBCA, well, specifically the LBCA, I actually don't know another organization that I can think of that I've spoken with or heard of or read about that has successfully done as much as the LBCA has for the cannabis community, at like from decision making to cannabis education programs to, you know, networking. I mean, there's just so much going on there. So if you have an opportunity to take those classes, guys, I would highly recommend getting on that boat, and then absolutely volunteering at these events, because it is all who you know in business, in any business, but particularly this one, because they already know each other. Anybody working in the legacy space, a lot of them already know each other, you know. So if you're new coming into this, those classes would definitely help, and rubbing elbows with the right people would definitely behoove you.
I've been in the workforce for longer than I'd like to admit, but every job I've gotten currently was pretty much based on me volunteering, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I was a long time. I worked for the housing authority in the rec center, and, you know, I was just there all the time and, you know, shooting hoops. And then I'll just start kind of, you know, dusting off the gym floor. And after a while, you know, they were like, this kid's here all the time. Like, do you need a job? You know? So it's creating that opportunity for yourself of being in the right place at the right time, which is really what it is all about. And, you know, this is a great space to do that. You have such a diverse group of people in knowledge in this industry, which is in its infancy. It's, you know, I couldn't think of where else I would rather be if I was just getting in, or, you know, just coming to Long Beach. That would be where I would want to be, you know.
And also, if you're starting out in this industry, and I just want to make this point only because unfortunately we're coming up on that time where we got to cut it before 30 minutes. Instagram algorithms and all that jazz. But I feel like I could talk to you guys all day about this. There's so much information. And for those of you who have not seen the previous interviews with the LBCA, I think this is our 4th or 5th interview with the LBCA, because once we started talking to the LBCA, there was just so many gems to talk about. There was just so many moving parts, and you don't want to skirt them under the rug, and you don't want to, you know, you really want to dive into each one as much as possible, as much as you possibly can in 30 minutes. But we will definitely be hearing a lot more from the LBCA, because I'm proud to say that NUGL has partnered with the LBCA, and I'm so excited about this because we are a marketing and advertising company for the cannabis business. That being said, very well aware that the cannabis space, after paying for the licenses and the fees and everything else, there is a shortage of cash for anybody that has a license, you know. So that makes it really hard on anybody to focus on marketing. Now you have your business. Well, how do you spend money on marketing, right? So that's one of the downfalls of kind of this space right now. It takes so much work to get into it. You know, it's to push forward after that in itself is a feat. So the LBCA has a resource for you. That is the classes. That's going to get you your education. You are going to make your connections through the LBCA via volunteering. Get those events under your belt. Talk to people. Really meet people in the community. And when you are ready as an LBCA member, you will get huge discounts from NUGL. So NUGL has a partnership with the LBCA, which I'm so happy to extend to you guys. We're doing deep discounts on all of our marketing. So we do videos, we do articles, we have our magazine, we have the buyer's guide. The buyer's guide is a huge cross-pollination collaborative effect throughout the cannabis space. Mike Tyson's on the cover, you know, Tyson Ranch is one of our partners. The Emerald Cups producers, which is Social Club TV, they're in it with us. So we've got the right people, they've got the right people. When you guys are ready and you want to advertise, contact NUGL. If you are a member of the LBCA, you're going to get a huge discount. So that being said, DM me if you're interested. If you want to become a member, absolutely. How do you contact you to become a member? Or a member or a volunteer? How do we contact you?
Oh, I wanted to sign up for NUGL advertising. Oh, maybe offline first. But
Everybody can reach out to, you guys can, if you want to reach out to me directly, it's pam@thelbca.com. You can also reach out to Steven@thelbca.com. You can DM us through Instagram @thelbca, or contact us through our website, thelbca.com.
And I'm going to go ahead and link all of those in the description and the caption below, guys. So if you missed this video, you can watch it over again here on IGTV. But if you would like to read about the LBCA, there will be a printed article coming up this following Monday, printed in the magazine. So you'll be able to catch all of the interviews that we've done with the LBCA thus far in NUGL magazine. You'll also find that associated article and all of the links and all the places you need to go to get that continued education, to join as a member, as a volunteer, or to sign up for the buyer's guide, or just talk to us about advertising. But thank you guys so much for being here. I cannot thank you guys enough. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys over and over again. This has been super fun, and I can't wait for the next event. That was actually very cool. Very, very cool.
Looking forward to it, Jessica. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. So for everybody out there in NUGL land, tune in next Friday and every Friday for Backdoor Marketing with Jessica. I'm your host, Jessica, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.